Kindle or Nook e-reader provided by the Friends of the Troy Public Library. The Overdrive Digital Bookmobile will be in the north parking lot of the Troy Public Library on Tuesday, June 19th from 12 noon until 6 p.m. Drop by and visit and learn all about the fast-growing world of ebooks. I wanted to make that announcement because that's an exciting thing that's coming to the city, and I think it would be a great thing for everyone, families, adults, and kids to check out. And then I just wanted to point out there that both myself and the mayor were able to attend the first Melting Pot USA meeting last week, and it was very informative. They are going to be holding those meetings once a month, and hopefully we'll be able to give that information to everyone so community members can come and check it out. There was a good turnout, and I'm sure that they're hoping to have more people show up and learn about different cultures in the city, as well as share discussion about activities that community members enjoy here in the city, and I thought it was a great meeting.
Thank you. I agree. Anyone else? Councilman Slater?
Mayor, I was just going to talk about the K2 spice issue in council comments tonight, and I think everybody else wanted to do that also. So I guess maybe I'll go first.
Okay.
I know there was a resolution put on the table today that I didn't get an opportunity to look at until 10 minutes before the meeting tonight. I read it. I like it, and I support doing whatever we can to take care of this issue for the parents and the kids that live in our community, for sure. But I'm going to have to maybe reach out to the law department to help us draft some language that maybe we could have back at the next meeting. So maybe if you could help us out, I'd appreciate that.
Attorney Boone?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And as most of you know, and a lot of you were actually at the forum, Judge Hardig did have a forum on K2 Spice, and there's been a lot of media attention, and so we're really glad that is happening. I just would mention that there are 3 pending laws in the Michigan legislature. One of them is sponsored by Papa George. At Senate Bill 789. This is something that they've been working on for quite a while, and in fact we have had previous legislation. The problem is that the chemical composition keeps changing, and so they can't keep up with it with the Michigan legislature. So there are going to be some problems, certainly if the Michigan legislature does pass some laws. That's going to make it a lot easier for the city of Troy to have some laws. As of right now, it is still legal to buy it. So it is going to be very difficult to come up with some legislation unless and until the state, makes it either easier to keep up with the changing chemical composition or adds it to the Schedule 1s. So we certainly are watching that. We certainly can bring something. We'd like to do some research. I'm not sure that there's anything else that we can do. However, some of you may also wish that the website of the judge does have some of the establishments that have sold this K2 and spice composition, and I'm sure if you wanted to alert people to those establishments, you could do that. The website is nospicetroyclawson.org. It's one word, nospicetroyclawson.org. And she also has on there those establishments that have taken a pledge to not sell K2 or spice. And so I just wanted to mention that as well.
Thank you. Councilman Fleming.
Yeah, I appreciate Councilman Slater here. That was on my agenda as well. I did attend the forum that Judge Harding had, along with, I saw Councilman Henderson there and Mayor Daniels there as well. It's very informative. And I, too, like the resolution. Basically, this resolution is one that we're sending to the state and asking them, telling them what our position is. I'd like to see us go a step further, if possible. This talks about K2 and other synthetic drugs. I want to make sure that we specifically call out bath salts, too, because I know that's a major issue now. Maybe that's covered when we're talking about other synthetic drugs. But in addition to K2 spice, generic names of bath salts are a major one. I've also heard on the news recently, not only are certain municipalities in our area sending resolutions to the state. They're trying to take a local action and put some teeth into local ordinances and so forth. So in addition, I'm asking that if the council so desires, it would be my desire, that Attorney Bloom not only look at the resolution that we're sending to the state, Michigan State representatives, but also look at what we could do as a local municipality to put our own restrictions on K2 and other synthetic drugs and bath salts. Be proactive, not just recommend what the state does, but what can we do locally here to ban the sale?
Mayor.
Councilman Henderson?
This evening, as I was getting ready to leave, it was announced on the news that Macomb County just passed some sort of law that no business in Macomb County can sell, I think, synthetic marijuana is how they termed it. But, you know, one of the caveats is that, you know, that they said that they're prepared to fight, you know, any lawsuits that might come out of that. And, you know, I'm not sure the city of Troy is prepared to do that necessarily, but I would certainly be in support of doing whatever we can to pass an ordinance. I don't know if the attorney can help us with trying to put language together that would encompass every conceivable thing that could be sold over the counter that could be termed synthetic marijuana or whatever language we want to use. The other thing that concerns me about that is, you know, again, I've gone into a couple of the places that I've frequented in the last few days after that meeting, knowing that, you know, I've had the blinders on, and I've had frank discussions with the proprietors. And in fact, the very next day, as a company, one of the businesses had taken it off their shelves. They had a room specifically set up for this particular sale of this product. It wasn't my doing. They saw the writing on the wall through the newspapers and so forth. But that begs the question, you know, where did they put the stuff? Is it behind the counter? And I think one of the speakers tonight even made mention of that. Has it just gone underground? And, you know, what can we do to try to eliminate that or prevent that? And that's a big concern.
Mr. Culpepper, I'd like to thank you for drafting this proclamation. It's a fine start, and so we have some foundational work done. I appreciate that. Councilman Fleming, I know that Chief Gary Mayer would like to say a few words, but let me finish here.
Is anyone else? Maybe I don't want to speak. Let everybody else have a turn.
Councilman Teets.
Yeah. So how do you define what's a synthetic marijuana? Is that simply the issue at the end of the day?
Mayor?
Attorney Bloom?
One of the bills, which does update the Schedule 1, basically has a litany. It's about a 3-page litany of possible substances, chemicals that comprise what we now know as K2. The problem, again, is that they keep changing them, and that's why one of the other bills, Senate Bill 789, talks about working with the Board of Pharmacy so that within 180 days they can change it so that any new compounds that are introduced can be modified. And so those are both options. I certainly can do some research. I am a little skeptical about what we can do at the local level unless and until it is an illegal substance. That's the problem. If it's not an illegal substance, it's very difficult for the city of Troy to take any action to ban something that actually is legal. But I certainly can do a report and report back.
Councilman Fleming?
If no one else. Last Wednesday night at the forum, Chief Mayer was one of the speakers and on the panel, did an excellent job. And basically, you may want to speak tonight. You're welcome to do so if you want. But basically, Chief Mayer's point was, our police department is very good at enforcing the law. But you can't enforce laws that you don't have. I mean, they can't, their hands are tied, basically. They want to do something, but the police department really can't. We have to give them the tools, and that's through legislation, ordinances, whatever we can do that's legal. So they're wanting to enforce it, they just simply can't at this point without having the legal mechanism to do so.
Chief Mayer, would you like to add some insight, please? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. the point that Councilman Fleming just made is the most germane point. Is the police department is very good at enforcing the law, and if it's illegal, when it comes to illegal, we'll be able to enforce it very well. What's become very obvious is that there's a community concern, and part of what a problem-oriented police department does is we act on community concerns. What our intention is to use our community services section and our volunteer program, along with the coalition and what the judge has going through the court, and to see if we can get some more voluntary compliance. So we're actually going to, what we're looking to do, we're going to meet tomorrow and start working on this, is get volunteers and police officers to go into establishments. We're thinking of coming up with some kind of program where there'll be something on the door saying they voluntarily are not going to be selling K2 to go along with what the council has discussed with this voluntary compliance. It fits the bill of what we want to do with the community involvement, and that's where I see us going with that. I just wanted to mention that we are going to take some more active role in this, not just wait for the laws to be changed. I think that's what the community wants. I think we can do that.
Very good.
Just want to mention that one point.
Very good. I think
Thank you.
education and the
Yes.
voluntary compliance is really what we need
Yes.
to, where we need to start.
It's a good start. The law enforcement angles, what police departments do very well, and we'll do that when it becomes enforceable. We'll go in that direction too.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Councilman Slater? I'm sorry, Councilman Fleming?
Nothing on this. I have another issue.
Okay.
Something else. There's a report that the Safe Built put out that was really encouraging to me. It's in report number N02 in our agenda. And we talked during the budget sessions that some of us on council felt like Troy was turning the corner and things were looking better as far as building and permits and so forth. Now we have the data to back this up. April 2012, permits issued for building, new buildings, modification and so forth, month to date were 765. 1 year ago, April 2011, if this, interpreting this data correctly, there were only 114 previous year. So that's a 670% increase in permits that are being issued for activity here in Troy. In addition, the value that's been assigned to these projects, year to date, $34,713,000. Last year, year to date, January through April, projects that were ongoing in Troy that we'd receive permits for were valued at $8,507,000. That's a 400% increase in the building activity. Now that's just a step in the right direction. We have a long ways to go. But we talk about Troy and how Troy is doing. I'm telling you, this data here, you can believe this because I think Safe Built's doing an excellent job of keeping the records. But I look for it yourself in agenda item N02 on the report. It's very, very encouraging to me. We have a long ways to go, but certainly we talk about activity and feedback we're getting from real estate agents, and after one of the comments I made in a meeting, I received emails saying you need data to back this up. Where's your data? Where's your information? Well, this is coming from our own Safe Built department, building department. So I appreciate this report. It's very, very good, very well done. Thank you.
I agree.
One more.
Yes, Councilman Slater.
There was some discussion earlier about the transit center. It was misinformation, but if I could, with staff, we were going to get a report this month from the committee, and I was maybe next council meeting, could we get an update or at least let the public know that's coming?
Okay, I have a meeting this Wednesday with a member or the leader of the Chamber of Commerce. So following that meeting, I will have enough information to have our committee, internal committee, to proceed with some information.
Thank you.
I also thought it was good to see that there's some agreement in concept that drive-through banking be allowed on the Big Beaver corridor. I've had some business owners approach me about that issue, so I think that's a real good business improvement opportunity. So I wanted to thank our building department or the business advancement group that is working on that. I appreciate that. And my thanks go out to Mr. Maxwell, who's the chair of the Planning Commission, who reviewed a previous council meeting and said that it was his opinion that Gordon Shepke did not say anything slanderous and that he felt it was just his opinion. So I wanted to bring that to our attention. It's in the letters as well, in the report section. Is there any other comments? That would then conclude our reports. There's no study items, no closed sessions, so we can move to the boardroom for discussion for our conference call.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to say one thing, that one of the vendors is here, Mr. Gerstenecker, in case there are any questions you may have of him related to the recruitment proposals.
Okay. I'd like to thank each and every one of the audience and at home for your interest and participation in our legislative process. You're welcome to join us in the boardroom. For those who cannot join us, please have a good remainder of the evening, and we hope to see you again soon. I move to recess this meeting until we can convene in the boardroom. Mr. Robertson, thank you for taking time to join us in this conference call.
Oh, certainly.
Would you like to describe to us what the next step is in this process, from your perspective?
I'm sorry, I think I started in too quickly. I didn't hear the last thing you said.
I simply wondered if you'd like to share with us your perspective on what the next step is going to be.
The next step for me, pardon me, would be coming there to Troy for the interviews to develop the position profile. And as such, at a minimum, I'd like to talk to each council member individually. But if there are other people, department heads, community leaders, anyone that you would want for me to talk with in the construction of the profile, I would be glad to. I just need to know ahead of time so that I would know how long to plan for the trip.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from council? Attorney Bloom?
Mayor, I don't know, there may be other questions from council. You may wish to come back to that at the end, and if, again, assuming that you do approve this contract, I think if you could give some direction as to who you wanted to have him interviewing, again, assuming that there are no other questions and assuming that this contract actually is approved.
So this is something we should decide now, or?
No, on the list of people to be interviewed, just as a suggestion, I don't need to know right now. I think the list may be better if you take a little time to think through it. If you want to decide now, that's fine, but normally it's better to take a little time and think through what aspects of, or what parts of the community you'd like involved, what parts of the organization you would like involved, and in the next few days, if you get something to me, that's fine. Or all the way into the mid-next week is fine.
Well, I certainly think it would be a good idea for our department heads to have input in the new city manager. Mr. Miller, do you have anything you want to include?
No, I don't disagree.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Well, I had a question. I guess I was kind of envisioning that we would ask specific questions related to the contract, and then I think we probably have to talk about a timeline. And I'm not sure if you can hear me, but if we were to approve this contract tonight, you've indicated in the materials that you submitted to council that you would be able to meet our time frame, which is 120 days. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I just want to make sure that the information is out there for discussion. Not everyone was privy to the information that we were reviewing when we weighted the different firms that submitted proposals. So I just wanted to put it out there that that was part of your proposal, that you would be able to complete this within 120 days. So given that time frame, because we would have to possibly set up a meeting or other meetings to discuss people that we would like to have included in your interview, when would you envision having to come to Michigan to start these interviews, both with council and other people that we give you?
Well, I've looked at my calendar. The earliest that I could be there would probably be the 14th or 15th of this month. It would be better for me the next week at the 18th. But again, I can be there possibly the 14th or 15th.
Councilman Fleming?
Just thinking. I'm just trying to remember. I don't have a calendar in front of me. It's the 18th. What day of the week is that?
I believe the 18th is a Monday.
It's a Monday.
Since I got old, my memory is not that quick. Let me look. 18th is a Monday. Yes, sir.
Well, that probably makes sense because that's a council meeting. I believe we could meet after that or before that, whatever we want to decide.
That would be excellent for me. And if you'll indulge me, it will not really affect you much, but what's going on up there the week of the 18th around Detroit? The reason I'm asking, I was looking at just getting an idea on the cost of flights, and the flights are astronomical compared to what it usually costs to go to Detroit from here. I was just wondering,
That's Father's Day weekend.
That's it.
on Sunday.
That's probably,
That could be it.
I was just curious because I couldn't really find anything other than a huge auto show when I went online and looked at it. Again, just curious. It doesn't matter.
Is airfare more favorable on the 14th or 15th of June?
It's the same thing there. Actually, it's a little more expensive on the 18th. And unless you tell me that I'm really being foolish, it will save a bit of money to fly into Flint instead of Detroit.
Flint's better.
better.
Okay.
It's easier
It
for you to
looked like
get-
it was about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's easier to get here really from Flint than, I use Flint a lot.
Well, and when I looked it up on Google Maps, it looked like about less than a 45-minute drive, and it really looked like a better path than trying to come out of DTW. So whenever is going to work best for you, 14, 15, or the week of the 18th, I can be there.
I'd prefer the 18th.
I'm out of town the 14th, 15th.
18th is
I
better.
think
for
the
me.
18th.
Okay. Well, what time is your council meeting?
7:30?
Okay, well, how about if I plan to get there early to mid-afternoon on the 18th? Would that be good? And
If we approve it.
Yeah.
if you, I'm sorry,
We had to be presumptuous.
yeah, my daddy's in real estate, and he says the deal is never done until the check clears the bank. So I may have overspoken.
Getting here early would facilitate maybe meetings with staff, later meeting with us. Would that fit the?
Whatever one said, well, I could meet earlier.
So could I.
So can I. Yeah.
Should we have a special study session, call for a special study session to have a meeting here in the...
Mayor, I believe that he wants to meet individually
Individually.
with council members. Is that, you can correct me if that's wrong, but it's my understanding that you wanted to set up individual meetings with all of the council members?
Yes, that normally works best. A one-on-one meeting, it works best for me. And I can stay 19 or into 20 if you need, or even longer. How much time you need, because the profile is really a crucial piece of all of this. I just need to know ahead of time to book my flights on how much time you think all of the interviews will take. And I can do some of them by phone if people are not going to be available, but I'd really prefer to do the interviews with the council in person.
I would need at least a couple of days, I would think. I could be available on the 18th or 19th.
Okay.
I have a question regarding the process, though, before I
Yes,
say, vote on the contract. One of my pet peeves is looking at candidates from the private sector as well as military. And looking at your proposal here, I know the majority of the candidates that you supply are from, the public sector. How do you intend to go about soliciting candidates that are qualified that have some private sector or military experience? Because I'd like to see at least 3 candidates that fit that profile, not just all public sector.
Right. Again, in the recruitment process, I would expand to whatever sectors that you want. Normally, my candidates are mainly interested in public sector, but there are, depending on the recruitment, there are numerous candidates from the military, and lately, in the last couple of years, there have been more candidates from private. But again, they're winnowed out by my client, other than by me. If you want to see private sector and military, that's not a problem for me. I can do recruiting in that area also.
Mr. Robertson, who is going to be assigned to our account, and will that person be available for this interview process?
Who will be assigned to your account?
Right.
Me.
Well, that answers that question.
I would not trust this to someone else. I'm sorry. I guess I'm a little too too protective of my reputation to send you a proposal with my name all over it, and then when it comes time for somebody to come there and do the work, a junior associate shows up. No, ma'am, it would be me.
Could you speak a little bit about your background so that the people that are listening who didn't have an opportunity to read the information might have an idea of your qualifications?
I've been with the Mercer Group for 12 years, going on 13. I've got a master's in public administration. I've been an assistant city manager, but I learned early on that I don't really have the mettle to be a city manager. There's that special quality there that I admire, but and I do a good job in finding good ones. It's just I could never be one. I've been a human resources director. I've worked for state government, and a couple of other parts of the business out of the North Carolina office. There's compensation classification studies, which have brought me into contact with a whole lot of city managers, and also performance evaluation, along with the executive search. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just thanked you for your resume. Councilman Henderson?
Yeah, I have a question about when we're going to hire one candidate. You're going to give us maybe 5 to 10 good candidates that we can look at their resumes and make that decision from, and then there's going to be X amount of candidates that you're going to weed through. Is that generally how the process is going to work? Okay.
Close. What I normally shoot for is what I call early on leading candidates, 12 to 15 that meet the qualifications. If there are more than 12 to 15, and not a lot more than 15, I'll winnow them down some through discussions with them. One thing that you will see, or that you'll get a feel for as we're talking through the interviews on the profile, is there's a section called issues facing the position. Those things are issues there in Troy that that are very important, that someone is going to need to deal with in the first few years on the job. And they will be detailed in the profile. One of the things that I use to identify leading candidates is to send them that list, which they will have already read in the profile, but I'll send them the list under separate cover and ask them to detail their direct experience with those issues facing the position. And in that, I'll get a better idea. What I will do when I identify the pool of leading candidates is to put all the information for each candidate together, including resume, cover letter, whatever internet research there available on the candidates, and those issues that the candidates have detailed facing the position of their own experience. And in that way, you'll get a feel for not only their experience with those and their overall experience, but how they put together information for council. One thing that you need to keep in mind is the work product that we're going to get during the recruiting process is going to be about the most detailed and best thought out work process or work product that you're going to get, because this is kind of the courting period where you really do need to look at the small things in the resume, the cover letter, the issues facing the position. And what I'll do with those 12 to 15 leading candidates is send you the information ahead of time for you to have an opportunity to read it, and then come there for a meeting in which ideally we would winnow those 12 to 15 leading candidates down to 3 to 5 finalists. And I feel comfortable in identifying the leading candidates, and I'll obviously work through the process with you of winnowing them down, but it would be council who would need to identify the finalists, the 3 to 5 finalists.
Okay, I have a quick follow-up question to that. I'm also in the same business that your father is, and whenever I start out with a new buyer, they tell us, here's what we want, and at the end of the day, we end up not usually buying what they tell me they want originally. So my fear is this: you're gonna whittle it down to maybe 1 to 10 candidates, but the rest, between 10 and let's call it 100 other resumes that you might review, is it impractical for us to ask to at least look at those so that we can get a general idea of, although you didn't think this was a good candidate, maybe it fits right in our wheelhouse?
It's not a problem, not a bit.
Okay.
One thing though, on your numbers, I would feel uncomfortable bringing you less than 8 leading candidates. I'm not comfortable whittling it down lower than 8. I fall back on the reminding myself that nobody in Troy elected me to choose the finalist for your city manager. And once you get below 8, for me, it's skating dangerously close to me doing that. Not that I'm not going to have favorites, you just aren't going to know who those favorites are, or I'm not doing my job. What I'm going to do is, first of all, identify those people that, based on resume, cover letter, internet research, and their responses to issues facing the position, along with some telephone interviews from me, I think are leading candidates. If you want to see the entire candidate pool, I have no problem with that. One thing I'd like for you to keep in mind is the candidate pool is like income. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. If we really do a good tight position profile, there's not going to be a huge number in the candidate pool. If we want to skip the profile and say city manager available for Troy, Michigan, pays, and we just list the range, I can probably get you 500 resumes.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
But again, remember, one of the things we're doing with that profile is saying to people who who initially see the posting and think, well, I might could be a city manager. I don't know. Let me throw my resume in. What we're trying to do is to give them enough information that they can get a good idea of whether or not they can handle the position, and then based on that, ship us a resume and cover letter.
Councilman Slater?
But isn't there some secrecy involved in this process where some candidates will not want their name released until they're maybe in the final 3?
And that's why I've said that with the leading candidates, it's going to be internet research. I'll make it clear to all candidates that I will do everything I can to protect their identity until they become a finalist. Once they become a finalist, I will ask them to sign a waiver that basically says I can call their second grade school teacher if I want to. And I really can't recommend anybody to you that I haven't talked to their current employer. Not that I'm always going to believe their current employer, because there's kind of the backdoor thing of the old saying about a good employee, the employer is going to give them a bad reference to keep them. But I really need to talk to the current employer as well as anyone else that my research would lead me to talk to. So, yeah, I have had one candidate not fully understand that, and when he became a finalist, he said, "I'm not comfortable with you calling my current employer," and he withdrew. But no, I'm not gonna put anybody at risk until they sign a waiver saying they understand exactly what I'm going to be doing in the detailed background search. And they'll also the waiver will also cover a criminal, civil degree verification, credit check, driving record, just to make sure that we've covered all the bases.
Councilman Teets?
I think, are we ready to make a decision?
Councilman Fleming had another?
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I'm ready to.
Yeah, just a question here. We've already received at least one resume, I think the council has, of a candidate that's interested. How do you handle candidates that we've already received resumes on?
If it's not a problem, just go ahead and email it to me if it's an electronic form, or
yes,
you can mail it if it's not. My job is, to me, my job is to find you the best possible city manager. If somebody feels more comfortable sending you a resume and you're comfortable shipping it on to me, I don't have any problem with that. One of the things I'll be doing is calling who we refer to as nominators. They may be people who might be interested in the position, but we know from experience that they know quite a few people. And I would be sending the profile to them. Just say, I'd call them first and say, I've got this opening. I'd like to send you the profile. If you know somebody that you feel would be a good fit, you can either email the profile further to them or give me their name. It doesn't matter. And it's a very non-threatening way to approach possible good candidates that are currently employed without them feeling like they're being pressured to apply. And one thing that I'll ask you during the interview is if there is someone that you specifically want me to contact to make sure that they know the position is available, I'll be glad to contact them.
Okay.
Mr. Robertson, thank you very much. You made a very impressive proposal to us. I think that's the conclusion of our phone conversation. Did anyone else have anything else to add? Okay, thank you so much again. And our Attorney Bloom will be in touch with you when we've made our decision.
All right, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would someone like to move the resolution forward?
I will do that.
Sorry, there you go. Yeah. It's pretty lengthy.
Probably should read this. Resolved, whereas on Monday, May 14, 2012, Troy City Council received proposals from executive search firms to fill the vacancy of city manager. And whereas on May 14, 2012, Troy City Council approved the evaluation form for the purpose of rating the executive search firm proposals and to conduct interviews if necessary and follow the standard request for proposal evaluation process in making the selection of an executive search firm, resolution number 2012-05-112. And whereas the scores of all city council members have been averaged into one score for each consultant for this phase of the process, the results of which are detailed in attachment K, and indicated the overall highest score was achieved by the Mercer Group with a total weighted score of 72.114 out of 90 possible points. And whereas the city attorney has drafted a contract for executive search services with the highest rating firm, the Mercer Group. Therefore, be it resolved that Troy City Council hereby engages the services of the Mercer Group to complete the executive recruitment process to fill the position of city manager by September 15, 2012, in accordance with the proposal dated May 13, 2012, for an estimated cost not to exceed $19,500 plus travel costs for finalists. Be it further resolved that the Troy City Council hereby approves the final contract for the executive search services with the Mercer Group and hereby authorizes the mayor and city clerk to execute the document, a copy of which shall be attached to the original minutes of this meeting. Yes or no?
Second. Moved by Councilman Slater, seconded by Councilman Fleming. Discussion? I only have one concern, and that is that we may set the Mercer Group up for a breach of contract by saying that they have to have this completed by a certain date, rather than about a certain date, on or about a certain date. Would you like to comment on that, Mrs. Bloom?
Are you speaking about the language in the resolution itself?
Both the resolution and the contract actually mirror. They say that the candidate has to commence employment by September 15th, rather than on or about, in case, I mean, this is an important progress, or process that we're undertaking, and I don't want to, again, set the Mercer Group up for breach of contract because we're saying that it has to happen on a certain date.
There is a charter provision that says that it's a 120-day limitation, and we, in sending out the proposals, that was one of the things, is that we wanted to make sure that they could comply. Obviously, if there are factors that somehow make that impossible, we'll need to do something so that we're not in violation of the charter, so that there is no violation of that. Again, the Mercer Group, when they made their proposal, they knew what our deadlines were, and that was premised on the city charter's limitations.
Madam Mayor, may I speak?
Yes, sir.
For a moment? Lori, is the charter says if the position is vacant for 120 days, does that mean that if you assign someone to the position as acting or interim, the position isn't vacant?
No, the acting does not remove that. However, city manager, there is an ability, if we get to that point, we certainly do not want to have a charter violation occurring. And so, again, as long as Mercer knows that is our charter limitation and they're working, again, they did say that they could do this, and as long as, they set out their timelines and when they would have to have everything done, they feel like they can meet that deadline.
Councilman
In
Henderson?
a perfect world, we're going to meet that September 15th deadline, but in an imperfect world where something happens and we don't, what happens when we violate the charter, or if we don't? Worst case scenario. I mean,
We will do something so that there is no violation of the charter, but at this point, it's a little premature.
Permanent for a week or so?
Okay, so there are ways to facilitate getting the end means met.
So should we have that strict verbiage?
It's my recommendation that you should, that you do have that in there, because that's what the proposal was based on.
Right?
I have a question. It's just more procedural about what we're going to do next, more so than my vote. But if we've tentatively told him that we're interested in having him come in on the 18th, and then spending a day or 2 or 3 here in the city so he can interview all the individual members of council, but there are other people that I'm assuming we're going to want to have him speak to. Do we need to come up with that tonight? Or the alternative is, do we send a list and then you can just see who gets the most votes for who talks to? Or do we set another meeting date so that we can come up with that? Because I got the impression that he wants to have all of the appointments that he's going to be fulfilling when he's in town scheduled before he gets here. So I don't know how we need to handle that, but.
Mayor, if council members have preferences and they are prepared to make that decision tonight, that would be great, because then he's making his flight plans, and so we would know how many meetings there would need to be. If council is not prepared at this point, it really is my recommendation that council as a whole votes on who they want him to talk to and who they want to have included. So again, I'm not sure where council is on that at this point in time. I know that he would like to have some indication, maybe it's not tonight, but again, I think the reality is that if there is some knowledge tonight, that he can make his flight reservations and he'll know how long he has to stay here for.
Well, I certainly would like him to speak to all the department heads, and I think he can do that in the 3-day time frame or 2 or 3 day time frame that he suggested. Mr. Culpepper, did you?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, if you're going to be very specific, I think you ought to be less specific, to say all the department heads available, just so that you don't have a box yourself into where all of a sudden we've got 2 people on vacation or something along those lines. It's another week. Practical, available, some of that wiggle room wording.
And Mayor, I think the other one, he had mentioned members of the community, and I think that's the critical one. The department heads, I'm sure we can get them in here, whoever's available, if there's consensus to have their input in doing this. But the community members, that's something that council has to give direction on.
Councilman Fleming?
In my opinion, we're going to drag this out enough, just getting the input from this council and from the department heads available. I think that this council is charged with hiring the city manager, for getting input from the department heads as well. I think to stretch it further than that is probably going above and beyond what we need to be doing. That's my opinion. I think this council is qualified, along with the department heads' input, to do the profile that they need to do an adequate job to find us a city manager. I don't think we need to, because you open it up to the citizens. Where do you stop? Where do you start? Who do you involve? We could have the guy here for a month, and the way this community is, he probably wouldn't be any better off than he would be spending the time, quality time, with the council. Not that the citizens are not important, but they elected us, and we're the voice of the citizens. Let's do our job.
Councilman Slater?
I agree with that, but I still think we could individually or whatever reach out to the community and get some input from them, and certainly reach out to Mr. Gerstenegger, who's volunteered his time for free to meet with community groups and get some input back to us. I don't think we need him to meet with the community, but I think we can certainly meet with the community in the meantime.
Are we ready to vote? Councilman Campbell?
I'm ready.
Okay. So if someone could, we already moved the resolution, we need the vote. Vote please, Mrs. Bittner.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes?
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Motion passes. Our congratulations again to the Mercer Group. And this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much.